Yelling to receive maximum power, 1,000-year-old girls that look like children, and dying to a truck are all common and overused tropes in anime that we'll be explaining in great detail over the next 12 minutes of this video. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. We begin with one of anime's most used tropes of all time, yelling. You see, in anime, the yelling trope is used in multiple different situations. In shonen anime such as Dragon Ball, it's used to increase one's power level, and to alert the enemy that your next attack will be the Kamehameha. You see, when the move is first drawn in the manga, it's given a name to add impact to an otherwise empty and boring page. This then eventually gets translated over to the anime during the adaptation, which is why Goku, Luffy, and almost every other shonen character alerts their opponent to their next attack. It's a trope that's used to fill dead air and add impact to an otherwise boring scene. But that's not all, as in Japanese culture this also has a somewhat deeper meaning known as kotodama, sometimes written as word spirit or soul of words, meaning that certain words, phrases, and names carry mystical powers within them. Powers that only by saying the word aloud allows you to momentarily obtain that power. But honestly, in my opinion, out of all the ones on this list, yelling is by far one of the least annoying, because without it we wouldn't have amazing voice acting moments like this.
I haven't lost yet!
Now next up, we have the highly overused, overpowered MC trope. You know the one where the plain boring high schooler more often than not gets killed and reborn in another world and just so happens to have this weird secret power that allows him to pretty much become the most overpowered character in the entire world. This trope in a short time has become one of the most common and overused in all of anime, due to the ever popular and growing genre of fantasy anime. This trope is also one of the most hated by fans who've come up watching shonen anime such as Naruto, One Piece, and even Dragon Ball. Because as you well know, in the beginning of shonen anime, the MC is somewhat strong but considerably weaker when compared to others in the series. They have to train for almost 200 episodes just to see some level of growth. But in the Isekai series, this is the polar opposite. You see, in them, from the moment you land in that other world, you are more often than not an S-rank wizard or hero with an incredible power. No training needed or struggles to overcome. You're just broken from day one. But it should also be noted that every so often a series like Solo Leveling comes along and introduces a level progression system, where the MC must train to become stronger. But honestly, even in those series, the training never really takes all that long and the main MC just ends up overpowered in the end anyways. Now it's no hidden fact that I myself hate this trope and I'm bored of seeing it every single season. But I'd be lying if I said it wasn't important, because in today's market, these are the series that always seem to rank in the top 5, and at times tend to be the ones that break out and appeal to the wider audience. They are needed, and as it stands, it doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. So sit back and enjoy the overpowered characters, because they're here to stay. But now quickly moving on, we have Moe, or Moe Blob series. Moe is more often than not confused with Lolicon, and is seen by many as a 30-year-old man who is obsessed with young little girls. But this is far from the truth, and is in fact an incredible misunderstanding. For you see, Moe is in fact the state of affection, where a fan possesses strong intense feelings for one of the characters. It derives from the Japanese word moeru, which means sprout or to sprout. It reflects the growing feelings a fan has for a certain anime character. Sure, it's a term that was mostly seen in the magical girl community and was popularized by Lucky Star in 2007. And does at times tend to represent a fan's love for a young looking character. But Moe as a trope or word does not represent lust or sexual feelings for said character. And although the Moe trope has become far less popular in recent years, it does still warrant an explanation, because like I said, many today have no clue about its true meaning. But now quickly moving on, we have the absent dad trope, which for the most part is pretty self-explanatory. It's where the main character has one or even two dead or missing parents, most commonly seen in shonen anime like Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, One Piece, and many more. It's usually never directly explained why their parents are missing or dead unless it's part of the main story. But for the most part, the absent parent is used to grant the main character a sort of freedom that they wouldn't have if the parent was around. Freedom that allows them to go on these crazy adventures and journeys. It's unclear where this trope actually originated from, but in some tellings of the 1987 Astro Boy, the mother appears to be deceased from early on. So it could have originated there, but again, it's very unclear. All we do know for certain is that this trope tends to be used quite a bit in the newer shonen anime. But now moving on, we have a trope that everyone enjoys to some extent, and that is the fan service trope. Fan service is where a character is placed in a fairly sexual position to excite interest out of us the viewers. This can be something as simple as a beach outing where the characters are placed in bikinis and swimsuits, or something far more extreme like the events that take place in pretty much the entirety of High School DxD. And it should be noted that it's not limited to just female characters, as there is quite a bit of male fan service anime out there. Anime such as Free, where you have a number of cute boys getting all wet and bothered to excite the fans that are watching. It's a trope that has existed in all forms of media for as long as I can remember, and is one that will be around till the end of time. Because at the end of the day, nothing sells better than sex. Up next we have the Yandere character trope, or as I like to call it, the psycho bitch character that will do anything for her man. It's a trope that was once popularized by the anime Future Diary, and has since started to be used less and less in the more modern anime. Yandere is a portmanteau of two Japanese words, the first being yanderu, which means to be sick, and the second which is dere, which in this case means love-struck. A yandere is often sweet, caring, and innocent before switching into someone who displays extreme, often violent or psychotic levels of devotion to their love interest. In the peak of its popularity, almost every single person wished to have one of these for their own, a girl or a guy that would do almost anything for their love interest. Hell, in my youth, I wanted someone like this for myself. But after going through life and experiencing the level of crazy that love can bring, I can tell you that it's something nobody needs in their life. Now up next we have another of the dere character tropes. This time it's the tsundere, potentially the most annoying character trope that exists in all of anime, at least in my opinion. A tsundere is a character that in the beginning comes across as cold and uncaring towards the main character, but later around the 9th or 10th episode starts to develop feelings for them. The earliest example for this trope that I can think of has to be Lum from the 1981 anime Yorosei Yatsura. And similar to the yandere, the tsundere word is a combination of Japanese words, with the first being sun, which is to mean a loaf or sour, and dere, which in this case means flirtatious in love. The tsundere archetype is almost the polar opposite to a yandere archetype, because the tsundere characters tend to be cold and distant towards the main character, where the yandere characters, like we explained, tend to be incredibly obsessive and almost overly in love with the main character. In the past, the tsundere trope was used as a form of character progression, but in recent times it has become nothing more than a ditzy, almost pointless love interest for the main character. A love interest that almost always gets skipped over for another, which is a big reason for why I tend to hate these kinds of characters. There's no real substance or growth to them, just someone that I eventually grow to hate seeing on my screen. But again, I digress. Moving on, we have a trope that is potentially credited with more main character kills than Frieza himself. It's Truck-kun. Truck-kun is a sort of meme trope that was coined by fans of isekai series. It essentially refers to the truck that is used to kill the main character in the beginning of the series so that he can be transported to another world. It doesn't really need much of an explanation other than the fact that it's a truck that is used to kill the main character of a series. So with that said, we're going to move on to the extremely controversial trope where you have a 1000-year-old character that looks like a child, which if you're a casual watcher of anime may sound confusing to you. But trust me, it happened a lot in the past. One of the most popular characters with this trait has to be Shinobu Oshino from the Monogatari series. She's the character that is chronologically over 500 years old, but is biologically only about 8 years old. She, along with others like Elaine from Seven Deadly Sins, often find themselves in controversial debates, where it is argued if liking them makes you some sort of sexual predator. Now I'm not willing to touch that argument with a 100-foot-long pole, so I'm just going to leave this explanation as it is and move on to the next, less controversial trope, which is, oh no, it's incest in anime. God help us. Now incest, if you didn't already know, refers to the sexual acts between two or more family members, often a brother and sister in anime. The worst or best anime for this, depending on who you are, has to be Kiss X Sis, which is an anime that if aired today would immediately get banned from almost all streaming platforms, because if you've seen it then you know exactly what I mean. It's an anime where two twin sisters do everything they can to sleep, have sex and marry their brother. Now as most of you probably know, incest is often one of the most popular categories in porn and hentai sites, which instantly tells me that there's a lot of fucked up individuals out there. It's also a category that seems to be growing more and more by the year. So who knows, this time next year we may actually have an anime season that is filled with anime like Kiss X Sis. Wouldn't that be incredible to see? But now up next we have training arcs in anime. Training arcs are where the main MC or the main cast of characters go away to an island to improve their skills or powers. Usually because they have some big fight or big match coming up in the future. It's mostly seen in fighting anime like Dragon Ball or Fairy Tail, but is also seen in sports anime like Haikyuu or Kuroko no Basket. The arcs themselves tend to vary in length, with some series taking just a couple of episodes to train up the characters, to other series taking entire seasons. It pretty much just comes down to the series itself, on how long they want the training arc to be. But now up next we have tournament arcs, which are honestly some of the best arcs in all of shonen anime like Dragon Ball. These arcs are most of the time the reason for the anime training arcs. It's where the series' best teams come together to prove which of them is truly the strongest. It's seen in almost every battle shonen of all time, with the weird exception of maybe One Piece. But I guess you could say that the Foxy arc was a sort of tournament style arc, kinda? Maybe? Not? I don't know. Moving on. Winning or losing the tournament arc varies from importance, for in Dragon Ball Super, losing would mean that your universe would be destroyed. But in sports anime like Haikyuu, it tends to only amount to your school being removed from the current year of games. It tends to be a fun arc that allows you to see not only the main cast in all their glory, but also the less important characters that otherwise would never really get seen. Now next we have the anime flashback trope, which is honestly one of the most iconic tropes of all time. It's usually used to showcase something that we saw in the past or something to give us context about the current story. But one of the more modern and best ways that I've seen this trope be used is when giving a character a deep and emotional backstory. And in my opinion, One Piece has by far the most deep hitting backstories of all time. Like, you can't tell me that when you saw Kuma sacrificing himself for his daughter, it didn't bring you to tears. Like, that shit had me held up in bed for days. Like, this man deserved so much better. Why the hell did Oda put him through all that shit? Why? But now quickly moving away from all of that, we have the final trope in anime, the power of friendship. A trope that gained incredible popularity after Fairy Tail's Natsu used it in almost every single arc to beat the big bad. Sometimes the power of friendship can be seen as an incredible team up between two characters, like in JJK when Yuji and Todo teamed up against Hanami. But other times it's seen as a simple plot device that's used to give the main character an absurd stat boost for no real reason, just because in his heart he has his friends by his side. It's not exactly a good trope, but it is one of the more popular ones, so it is worth noting. But now with that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you've enjoyed and want to see more videos like this in the future, then please like and subscribe down below, as it would really help us out a lot and I would love to have you join us on this incredible journey. But for now, that's going to do it for me. Have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are, and peace.